Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the second event of Halka Artship Spring 2021 spring season event. Tonight, Tolga will present one of his papers. But before we begin, I want to introduce him shortly. Tolga is a musician and a cultural researcher. His interest in the Altaic culture is developed during his studies at Istanbul University, Department of Turkish Language and Literature. This scholarly interest in the Altaic culture led him to form Kam Ata, a band for which he is a songwriter and producer. Since 2003, they have been performing in concerts and festivals. Tolga took a research trip to Siberia and Central Asia in order to complete their first album called Tengri Teg, which was released in 2016. He's also a visual artist, building steel and wood sculptures that can be used as musical instruments. In addition, he's directing a series of short documentaries entitled Kamtura, which means Region of Shamans, which incorporates diverse strands of his research. Slobodan, would you like to say a few words?
Well, not to take too much time, but Tolga is also a storyteller in our performances, and he will be a part of next performance and has been very active with Artship and has some of these instruments made out of metal have been played at our performances. So I won't take more time from Tolga. And welcome everybody.
So Tolga, you can start whenever you feel like it.
Thank you very much, İpek and Slobodan, of course. So I want to share my screen. Is it open right now?
You can share.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about Central Asian legend tellers. I choose a special place for Central Asia and of course Siberia, but especially I'm focused on Altaic legend tellers. And before I start about legend telling, everything began with a campfire. So this is a hypothesis, of course, because there's no evidence of it. So a campfire, like these days, it was a place where people come together. Now we are on our front of our computers, so our computers are like our campfires, so we can communicate. But on those days, they had just the campfires. And the fire is not only for cooking or for heating. It is also a place for communicating each other. And the people, the community, always they were together every day from 20 hours. So they had not much to tell each other. So they live everything together at the same time. They have mostly the same experiences because they are hunter-gatherers mostly. Women and men were moved together. So not all the time women stay at a village and men went hunting. So they were doing every job together. So they started to tell each other stories, their stories, in a different way, in a different kind way. So they changed their experiences. They make their stories more interesting. They add sounds, some animal sounds, some instrument sounds. And to coming here, first I have to take it a little bit earlier and start how it developed to the campfire stories. So in Central Asia, there is nothing much to see actually, mostly. If you look really close, you can see many things, but mostly it is like this. It's steppes, sometimes it's just taigas, forests, mountains, but nothing much more than this. Or some rivers and mountains. So this is important because people experience their life what they saw. So this is their life. That was their life, and still this is their life. And what they experienced is not only their experiencing thing like our time, contemporary time. That was their only life. So their landscape became their culture. Slowly shaped their culture, shaped their languages, shaped their beliefs, shaped their instruments, everything. How you imagine everything, but Altai culture shaped by nature. So to understand it, so I have pictures. These pictures I've taken in 2008, 16 in Mongolia. So this is one day, and the other will be the other day. So this is the second day. At the same place. This is Sur Sagan Lake, and it's called in English White Lake. So it's another perspective. So this is the same place. What you can see is maybe it's romantically you will see, yeah, it's a beautiful place. It's two between pictures. It became white. But for our ancestors, these two pictures describe something else. They can only survive if they can find their path. So the landscape, it's their signs for they can find their way back their home or back their hunting routes, anything. So these signs, mountains, rivers, lakes, but especially mountains and some only trees, forests, they become more and more important for them. So some trees became holy trees. So they put scarves on them to wish from tree of life. And if there's no tree, they put stones together, built ovos, and they created their own signs. Or some big stone became a great sign and then became a sacred area. And then that stones became called Bengutash and also mean Mengutash. It means immortal stones. And they became signs of a special area. And after centuries, this is from 13th century, from Genghis Khan time, it's a sign of southeast hill of Harhorin, Karakurum, and it's the sign of that hill. So these stones and signs were their survival, because of their survival instinct, became their culture. And that stones and rivers and mountains became more and more important, and so they created a spirit for them. The belief became every mountain, every river, every special tree has a special spirit, and it's called Ie. And that is actually not, they are not gods. They are holy spirits, guardian spirits of special places. But this uh, started to change all the beliefs and survival survival instinct slowly to culture. So hunter-gatherer became slowly hunters, and so women and men, you can see in this 2-1 sculpture, they were hunting together. So what they have, that horses, deers, and the other hunting animals, and they start living in yurts like this, or teepees. But this is a picture from Altai, but this is a picture from Mongolia. So the landscape change is really dramatic. So, and that shaped their beliefs and their culture. Not much different, but little bit different. So this is a kam tent. So kam is the noun of shaman in Turkic languages. So I can say shaman right now. This is a shaman tent in Altai. It's made up bark. And this is a Altaic shaman. He doesn't call himself shaman or kam. He's doing this only for holding the culture, for, you know, he is the director of School of Tengri. He's called Daniel Mamiev, and what he's doing is just continuing their culture in centuries, holding the wisdom of his culture. And this is a tent in Tuva, in TP in Tuva. They don't have too much, because they don't have too much trees there. They use skin. And this is a Mongolian shaman, but a Tuvan shaman look like mostly like this. And you can understand that he has a more something to show, to appear as a shaman. And the Altaic shaman has nothing, just regular pants and t-shirt on him. He doesn't need something to show that prove he is a shaman. So that differences created different cultural cultural events, but it was not only it shaped not only the culture, it shaped all the stories and everything. To coming to shaman, they started to tell on campfire stories, and someone started use something else, and that man or woman called shaman, because everyone believed that the belief is like that. The first instrument maker, first musician, first blacksmith is always a shaman, because they think different than regular people. Actually, they are not thinking different than little bit maybe, but mostly their difference than other people is they observe everything better than other people. They observe and they synthesize their observation, and then they make a diagnosis, or they create something to play, a sound, and it become a first string instrument. So a hunter's most important thing was a bow, because it keeps distance between hunting animals or predators. But everyone around campfire, they have bows. so they have nothing else. Of course, they can create sound from rocks, maybe from skin, or maybe from empty bones. They can use them as a flute. But creating sound from a string is a level up for a culture. And they use it with their mouths. So these are rock arts from Africa. And this African man playing mouth bow and African woman. And she's called Chodra Tumat from Tuva, and she's playing mouth bow. So from Africa to Siberia, it's a really, really far. So this is a kind of a proof that we all mankind are not maybe from Africa, but we are connected, really, really connected. And it's not only a connection, it continues. So it evolves. So it evolved to mouth harp, to jaw harp, or called Jew harp. And in Central Asia, it's called kopuz, or komus, or demir kopuz. So, and these are kind of string instrument, ancestor of string instruments from Africa. And this is from Siberia. And this is my pictures I took in Mongolia, reproduction of that instrument. And you can see that the shape and strings, and that there's a really strong connection with hunting bow and this shape and always. And in Turkish, in many other languages it's mostly the same, but especially in Turkish we use for this bow, the playing instrument, we call it bow in Turkish the same as yay, and we call it hunting bow yay too. So, but this is a strange picture for me because I tried create from hunting bow a sound. So I used resin and played a bow with another bow. So, and I had the sound. It's not a proper sound, but I could do it. And these are examples from Tuva, from museum. And here you can see Altai musician. He plays his instrument with a bow. So the bow was only a string instrument, became a string instrument. With another string, second or third or fourth, it became just string instrument. And when they started to play it with another bow, they created bowed instruments. And he is Boris Kindikov, is musicians from Altai, and he was my, as by luck, as my guide in Altai, and he introduced me Altaic instruments. So that his way to create sounds and his way to introduce me the instruments starts me thinking about this evolution of from hunting bow to all string instruments. But these are the just few main origins of legend teller. So a legend teller is not only a storyteller in Siberia or a fairy tale teller. A legend teller can tell, of course, very, very long stories. But he can play instrument, he can change his voice. I'm saying mostly he because, of course, there are female legend tellers, but because they are using their throats for singing or for telling, women are not common as legend tellers, but there are also women legend tellers, of course. And legend tellers called in Siberia kaiji, because it came the word from kai, and kai means sound from chest and throat. So that means they are throat singers. So the throat singing is not just singing on a different way. Throat singing is imitating this sound and creating again what they hear from nature. So in book of Theodore Levin, Where the Rivers and Mountains Sing, and the title gives actually the answer, they imitate the sound of the wind and the rivers. They imitate the wind coming from the hills of the mountains, or the sound creating rolling stones in riverbank, or camels, the sound of the camels, or to herd the animals. They created different sounds, and this pragmatic creation could it started with a pragmatic way for herding, for surviving, but it evolved after campfire stories or fairy tales on Kaiji's experience as an art of telling legends. And if you don't know what kind of or how is the sound of throat singing is like, the main sound is called humei, and it's like and the kargara is a little bit strong sound, and it's like and this sounds not only for using it an instrument, they can sing with lyrics with this type of singing. So they change their voice for different characters for singing in different pitches and in different styles. And of course, they play mostly two-string instrument called topshur, and sometimes igil, or it's a kind of two-string instrument played with bow. Sometimes they play flute, but mostly they choose topshur, or in Kazakh known modern version dombra. So, but there's always a shaman behind it. Like, so they created this thing, but they disappeared. Or do they disappear? So there's called a different kind of legend teller called kamkaiji. That means shaman legend teller. So why they needed shaman legend teller? What does shaman legend teller do? So actually, because they were all at the beginning shaman, but they changed their ways somehow. The shaman legend teller have a job in big hunting parties. So what shaman does is actually not witch doctoring around. Shaman in Siberia is the man or woman who needed them and what they needed. So when you need shaman, you go him, but mostly you don't need him. But only if something big happens, you go to him or her. So on big hunting events, they need a shaman because they need please Taiga's ear, Taiga's spirit. So I told you that every place, every special place has a guardian spirit. So Taiga has a spirit. So who can communicate with Taiga's spirit is a shaman. Regular people can communicate with it. So that shaman, legend teller, that Kamkaiji, went together with them and tell a legend to that spirit and to please. So because in Central Asia and Siberia, it's hunting is like not killing something. It's the nature gave them as a gift for their survive or for their presence. So the spirit gave them their prayer, their prey. So that's why they needed a shaman to please the ear. But if you look a pragmatic way, so shamans are great observers. So they know when it's going to the weather bad, and like I'll show you, because those pictures were maybe very beginning for you, but that were proof that they were in one day it can change everything. The weather can change when it's snow. If you don't know what the landscapes, you can lose, and when you are lost, you die. So this is not a joke. So when you lost in Siberia, you are going to die. It doesn't matter you can hunt or not. So if you are lost, so you basically you don't have hunting skills too, actually. So the shaman knows the hunting ways, knows the weather conditions, knows the landscape, because every shaman has to know the area of their they living. And maybe we can't understand these things because we live in a city, and we can fly from Turkey to Siberia in 5 hours. It doesn't matter for us mostly, but for them, it was their only life. So maybe they are just walking around in 100 kilometers in a year. So because they were pastoral nomads, so they changed their area in every season, but they have to know where to hunt, where to feed their animals, where to stay, when it's going to rain, when it's going to snow, and when it will be a storm. And mostly people know many things, so didn't always need a shaman. But because of their observation skills, shaman is always the last warsayer, always their word were the rule of their community. So, and that Kamkaiji was a proof that shamans were not only healer of their communities. Shamans, especially, were the culture, the guardians of their culture, of their community. Because otherwise, why someone needed and to learn any legend? Do any doctor try to learn any legend in these days? I don't think so. But in many papers right now, in Turkologist papers, they especially point that shamans are not only healers, because our father and our mother especially know folk medicine. They can heal us too. The shamans' difference in their community is their presence and their observation skills and their diagnose about this situation, about maybe about the sickness and maybe about the weather. or something else. So these two pictures are symbolized for me. I didn't took them, but one is a white shaman and one is a black shaman. So they are from Mongolian shamans, and it symbolizes my experience in a Mongolia in a ritual. And Mongolian shamans are little bit uh, exaggerating their rituals than Altai shamans. So first ritual began with the white shaman. So she mostly ignored me, but after that she told some words for me. You have the hair of the warriors from my time. But what she says, my time, she was telling that she has a spirit, an ancient spirit inside. And the spirit told me, you have the hairstyle of my time, the warrior of my time. And that's me maybe from 11th century. I don't know. But of course, uh, I didn't believe her. I mean, I know the hairstyle. I know she knows the hairstyle. But what I'm believing it, she she has the cultural, all the experience, all the knowledge, and that's why she can say to me, "You have that hair." And what she saying to, I have the spirit inside me, an ancient spirit. That means I have the all knowledge, ancient times. Otherwise, you can't communicate with other people, with regular people. You have to create a persona. You have to create uh, another persona than regular you, because they are artists and they were artists too. And after her ritual, it became Black Shaman's ritual. And it was really different than everything. He started drumming, and in 1 minute, he became another person. He got in trance, and he changed his voice. And on that moment, I realized that he was using throat singing, or kai, that sound from throat and chest, that I make for you. And and on that moment, he told me that you are not believing in me, because he observed that I in sparks in my eyes, and he saw that I'm not believing him. But I was believing him, like in my way. So I said, I'm believing in you. So he ignored me a few minutes. On opening, on top of gers or yurts, there's an opening for fire. And so in one moment they came, and he said to his apprentice, offer this milk. And his apprentice took the milk and just went out and offered the milk. And this sign came from behind the clouds. So it was like he saw from that opening that the clouds will break. So he done this to take me in that community, in that ritual back again, to, because I was a non-believer for him. But I was believing him in my ways. And then he called me next to him, and he examined me, my spine. So he told me my diseases, some of my diseases, and told me in his style, don't do that and don't do that. But of course, I done it because I'm not kind of person. But what he was telling me, don't go higher places, because if you fell, you will lose your leg. Because I have fear of height or vertigo, I don't know. So when I walk high places, one of my legs were shaking. On that time, not anymore, but on that time it was shaking. And he could observe it. So they are not faking their presence. So they are creating a persona. And you can think about today that when doctors are not wearing a doctor jacket, a white coat, you don't know that they are a doctor or not. But if someone wears that white coat, so you start immediately believing in them. So these personas are like this. But in our century, of course, we don't need shamans. But even 50 years before, they didn't have many doctors there, so they needed them. But today, why we needed a shaman is like because that special kind of personality. Becoming a shaman is like becoming an artist, because becoming a shaman is becoming an apprentice and taking lessons, not lessons, but master apprentice relationship. And year after year, they learn how to be a great shaman, like kaijis, legend tellers, like musicians in Anatolia, ashiks. And before I give these examples to you, I will just connect this together in one or two sentences. So every shaman, before someone became a shaman, they got, when they're a child mostly, a sickness. And their family understood that they are having something they are in trouble and something very bad, and they went to shaman. And of course, the shaman understands that the sickness is shaman sickness. And that shaman sickness is not always the same. It's something different sicknesses types. And that sickness or illness stays mostly all their lives. So it's not something to heal. So becoming a shaman is, in a contemporary time, becoming a shaman is maybe a cool thing, but actually it's not a good thing, because they live a terrible life, they live poor life, and they have always struggle with community, with themselves mostly. And maybe you understand that this is the way someone someone, maybe for you it's a very familiar way. So because many artists are like this, or many scientists are like this, and of course some of the doctors can be like this. But because this is the way of thinking making the people ill or little bit sicker than the others. So, and they need always a master. And that master and apprentice relationship we have in legend tellers, and we have in ashiks in Anatolia. And ashiks in Anatolia, they also play instrument, of course, and write their songs, and some of them called Badeli Aşık. And it means that they gain their gift, playing and singing gift, when they're in their sleeps, in their dreams. And in Siberia, there's a kind of legend teller, and it's called Yeli Kaycı. It means Kaycı with spirits. And it's actually, another version of shaman legend teller. It's a Kam Kaycı. And it means they learned legend telling in their sleeps. So the legend of Yeli Kaycı, or spirited legend teller, is like a man fall asleep. In his sleep, a ear come to him and teach him how to sing a legend. He woke up, and next to him, he has a special instrument to play it. He start to playing that instrument, and he start to sing that legend that he never knew before. So, and it's not a coincidence that we have in Anatolia the same kind of a musician or an artist, because they are all a connection and a culture from Siberia to Anatolia. Like from Africa to Siberia, they were a cultural connection, and from Siberia to Anatolia, there is another connection, of course, a stronger connection, because the culture evolved in these landscapes, in these areas, in thousands and thousands of years. So it became a language, it became another belief, it became, it wrote itself many legends, fairy tales, it created many sounds, but eventually it could only start. Maybe this sound of this video is a little bit low, but maybe you can hear. This video I took, it's just because I didn't know it. I just saw it and I took the video. They were herding yaks with using of throat singing. So maybe you can hear. So I will try. So, of course, these animals were everything. So every instrument created in Siberia or Central Asia has a animal ancestor, like my instrument. But these landscapes and these songs and these legends always connected with the nature. Their songs were rivers. Their songs were about mountains, and this shapes the whole culture. And this is Bilal from Kyrgyzstan, but I met him by chance. It's a big chance. He's a manasçı. Manasçı means a Kyrgyz legend teller, a Kyrgyz legend called Manas, a great legend. It still continues somehow these days. Some legend tellers still continue to write it, if there is some others. It's a very long legend. When they start, they're mostly, it can be a 1 week long. So this is a documentary backstage shoot. So I'm not making my documentary on a bad way, or this is not a proper shoot for my documentary. I just took it for a proof, but I can show you or I can show it to you. And he's on this moment in a trance, like a shaman. And after he finished, we tried to stop him for 1 minute. His friend was with us, and he tried to 2 minutes. He tried to stop him because when he starts, he in few minutes he comes in trance and continues in trance to tell these legends. So this is a example of a manasçı, how it tells a legend.
Projesi burada özü torlat deyip bayqap dursan бұл günde gün tündesi toktoy bastana vurun sokkondoy 40 жигиттин барысы кең Алтайдан өзүнчө чогула жүргөн кезде ким Алтай тол өзүнчө аралап жүрүп күнтүдө басып өткөн кезде ким эне сайдын аралап эбербеген назолор жигиттин бары үчүндө чайнасаң ашка той boğum iştesин işte özünce kıyratı özlörde 40 çorunun barısı keng asmannem barı var aldığını gözde kanatın taştap urgan кезде keng Akkulasın daltıntıp İsmail'din gözünce Basmail bet tartıp Atanı kuyuzunce Oğda gözün sakla dep tartıp Kuyuşkandın akırın Tartıp durgan gezeken Akkulanın gözünce Üstüne düşü özünce Temini bağlı bu günde Çüyde aytıp özünce Haylanayın tetigi Keng Altay'dan Kana kırgızdı gözde yürüp
So, and his famous aşık is called Aşık Veysel from Anatolia. So mostly Turkish people know, of course, about him. And so these were the examples and bridges from Siberian legend teller through shamans, evidence of their culture keeper, and to Anatolia as a musicians and legend tellers. So our campfire will continue or not, we'll see, but till these days, not only Altai culture, all cultures evolved and survived somehow, and I hope will continue on a better way, in a better world. We'll see. Thank you very much, everybody.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments?
May I ask a question? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. In the beginning, great talk, Tolga. Congratulations. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
all this information, which is very good. I would like to ask you, you mentioned in the beginning some guardian spirits. I didn't catch the name. Can you tell me the name or even or write it in the chat so that I can get the name in the perfect way, please?
Okay. It's called Iye,
Yeah.
but you wrote it in English, I think, 2E.
Okay. Maybe you can send me that by email in a
Yes,
couple
of course.
days. It would be
Of
better.
course.
And by the way, don't forget to send me your chapter for the
Yeah, I know.
proceedings of the conference.
I know.
Don't forget that.
I know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Tolga, do you have your mouse instrument?
Yeah, I have it here.
Just play a little.
Okay. It's a small.
I'm wondering how the mouth is used on the bow. You showed these
So
pictographs.
actually, it's the same way like this mouth harp. So they use the gap of mouth, and I can maybe show you. It's not a very professional one, but maybe it will help to understand. So that gap creates a bigger sound than a string of the bow.
Oh, yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So if it's not a
Tolga
question,
constructed these bows, and for Fernando's conference on archaeoacoustics, and Tolga gave a workshop on it, and people made their own bows. It's very beautiful.
I loved your throat singing. Could you give us another example of your throat singing?
okay. I'm a little bit tired, but I can do easily a gargara.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And who needs words?
Yes. So if there's no question, it's okay.
Tolga, I have a question.
Okay.
How long did you stay in Altai and Mongolia when you visited?
Together, all of them were 3 months. But the main thing was buying my instrument, Morinhur. But on a way, I make another path for myself. So why I don't make my dream come together and I choose a way not taking a flight to Mongolia and coming back. So I choose travel through Russia, all the Turkic lands with the same price, with a one flight ticket. So it was the same.
May I ask another question?
Of course.
Do you have any idea when this throat singing started? How long did it start? How many centuries or millennia? Do you have any reference about that?
So of course there are no evidence. So there are some songs, folkloric songs, known from 10th century. So they are throat singing.
Okay.
And these kaijas, legend tellers, of course, known that they are not using their regular voice; they're using their throat. So it's from there are. It's of course there's no evidence, but you can say it 2,000 years old legends we have. So and it should be way before. So and I'm not saying that throat singing belongs to Altaic people only, but the evidence is because there's not a lot of people have this. Only Lapons, Saha, the people lives northern Norway, Scandinavia.
Yeah.
They have
Maybe.
throat singing, and American Native Americans have some throat singing. Korean have throat singing, and some Japanese people in Hokkaido island have throat singing, and of course in Tibet they have throat singing. So, but all of these has in center Altai. So because they, I don't know, it's the way of their created their existence or their culture to creating these sounds. It's not something nationalism about this, and of course Mongolian has different kind of throat singing. Even Tuvan and Altai and Kazakhs and Kyrgyz has different kind of throat singings. I mean, not very much different, but different kind. And in Nenets and Lapons have different kind of throat singing. It's northern who lives in northern Siberia, but singing in with throat is, you know, it's needs something else than other geographies, I think, and that's why I always point the geography. Because of the geography, this culture evolved like this, and these beliefs evolved like this because it was their survival rules and survival instincts, and their survival rules and instincts became their art and their cultural taboos sometimes, and all the beliefs.
Yes. Thank
So
you.
it should be way, way, way earlier. But if there's a example, I don't know, in Middle East or in Africa, a throat singing, it doesn't make me surprised. But I don't know any example of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Tolga, you mentioned the instruments having the shape of animals. And I know beautiful instruments with the horse. Is it there with you?
Yes. And it's a Morinhur from Mongolia. Maybe this.
Beautiful. Can you play it a little?
No.
Of course you want it, but I will try. So I don't want to get everyone bored, but so this is this is the sound of Morinhur.
Wonderful.
And the legend of this instrument, and of course it's not only legend because it's actually real, and they made this instrument from horse, really. The horse head is not a coincidence, because the strings are from horsehair, and the bow, the bow are mostly still made out horsehair, still in every viola and cello, still. And when they first made this instrument, this here made out horse leg, the bone of leg, and here was built from horse skull. So because horse is everything for them, so they created this instrument, of course, the bones and every part of the horse. So that's why the geography is for a not for now, but in 10,000 years ago or 5,000 years ago, it was everything for a culture, for a shaping a culture. It was everything.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hope to see you again next week.
Yes. Will.
Yeah.
And definitely the performance.
Yes.
You'll hear more of Tolga and Yelena, Olja, Mette, Eddie, and Katrina, Anna Diana.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Hope to see you next week. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All the best. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.